Tucker Carlson wants you to know he definitely didn't say it.
Yeah. But
And
I ask because, you've been talking on your show about whether Trump is the Antichrist.
I have not said that.
I'm Rich Lowry of National Review, and that was Tucker Carlson with a New York Times interviewer. And she brings up this statement from a couple of weeks ago where Carlson said that Donald Trump might be the Antichrist. And Carlson denies it. Now, we all kind of forget things over time, right? It might be possible for me to say last week, say that capital gains tax rate should be 23.5%. And this week say, no, it should be 18% because I've forgotten what I said before. I've changed my mind. But that's a relatively inconsequential matter compared to whether Donald Trump might be bringing on the end times and is a figure of total evil or not. Carlson maintains he didn't say this or didn't remember saying it. Here's more from the interview.
On your show, the day after Easter, you noted he did not put his hand on the Bible during his swearing-in
Correct.
ceremony as president. You said, and I'm quoting, maybe he didn't put his hand on the Bible because he affirmatively rejects what's inside that book. And then on a recent show, you went further saying, here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist?
I actually did not say, could this be the Antichrist?
Here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist? Well, who knows?
I don't know where that comes from, but I know that those words never left my lips because I'm not sure I fully understand what the Antichrist is.
So Carlson there falls back on the it depends on what the meaning of Antichrist is defense, but this is so disingenuous and just goes to his mode of argumentation where he'll say whatever is convenient in the moment. Saying that Trump might be the Antichrist was a really harsh thing to say after Trump had disappointed him on the Iran war, like the harshest thing you could say. Now, it sounds crazy in this interview, so he wants to deny that he said it. There are many examples of Carlson doing this. Here's some more. Someone came up with a compilation. Here's Carlson on aid to Israel.
Military aid to Israel and the implied security guarantees, some explicit, but many implied security guarantees of the United States to Israel probably haven't helped Israel that much long term. It's a rich country with a highly capable population. Like every other country, it's probably best if it makes its decisions based on what it can do by itself.
That country couldn't exist without, not for a week, without U.S. backing.
Here's Carlson on whether he knows the definition of the word ally or not and whether Israel is one.
America's supporting Israel because it's an ally.
I don't even know what those words mean. I'm just saying my principle
they're
is
an ally, right? I mean, they both
don't know what that
describe it-
means to be an ally.
Qatar is like one of our closest allies in the world. The largest American air base in the Middle East is in Qatar. They're a close ally of ours.
Here's Carlson on how Israel looks.
I come to Israel and the infrastructure, we were flying in, and I said to my buddy, I was like, man, first of all, it looks great. I love the agriculture in Israel because it's beautiful. I love green. I love plants. Israel, which is one of the single ugliest countries in the world. Nothing of beauty has been built there since 1948. Sorry, I've been everywhere in that country, and it's true.
And here's Carlson on Hamas.
Hamas is a group of jihadis. They're Islamic extremists, which they also claim constantly, which I don't know if that's true, by the way. It seems more like a political organization.
raised some eyebrows this week when you said that Hamas is more like a political organization than a terror group.
I didn't say that.
He even did it in the Times interview itself. This was a two-part interview running on consecutive days. One day he says, I think we're going to get violent revolutionary action in this country. Then the interviewer brings it up the next day. He's like, I don't know who said that.
The future that I imagine is not a future in which we're yelling at each other about race. It's a future in which people are legitimately revolutionary, maybe even violent on the basis of thwarted economic opportunity.
You said in our previous interview, the future that I imagine is not a future in which we're yelling at each other about race. It's a future in which people are legitimately revolutionary, maybe even violent on the basis of thwarted economic opportunity.
I certainly didn't mean to endorse violence. I can't imagine I would never say that intentionally. I'm amazed that you have a tape of me saying that, and I just want to disavow it.
So what's going on here? Why is Carlson so disingenuous? Well, one, it provides him a way rhetorically to try to get out of tight spots. We see that in the New York Times interview. Also, it provides him defensive arguments to attempt to use as a shield against criticisms of him. He'll often say that people say he's obsessed with Israel, but he's not. He doesn't care about Israel. He'd prefer to talk about something else. Here he is in the Times interview saying this.
And the effort to
push me away from that question by calling me names, calling me a hater, saying I'm obsessed with Israel, okay, I would be grateful never to think about it again. I find Israel actually geostrategically irrelevant, except to the extent that we imbue it with relevance at the behest largely of evangelical Christians.
All right, so let's go to the proverbial videotape and just scroll through the titles of his recent podcast. Iran update, Israel's newest bombing campaign. Well, that one's about Israel. MTG and the neocons' hatred for America. Of course, that one's about Israel. Ex-CIA officer on the truth about Iran. That's another one about Israel. Jeffrey Sachs on the real origins of the Iran war. I listened to most of that one. It's a lot about Israel. Tucker responds to Israel's attacks on Jesus Christ. I think that one's about Israel. Buckley, Carlson, writing Trump speeches, Trump's shocking text to MTG, and the Epstein cover-up. That one also was a lot about Israel. Tucker on the new religion of Trump's America, that's so-called Israelism. October 7th foresight, Netanyahu's funding of Hamas and settlers murdering Palestinians. On and on it goes. I'm actually interested in Israel. I'm unabashed in admitting that I'm interested in Israel. And I don't do that much content about Israel. The idea that he's not obsessed with Israel is utterly fantastical. And then there's the disingenuousness that he uses to make his affirmative moral case against Israel. Carlson will say, I'm a Christian, and Christians believe that we shouldn't murder civilians. I don't doubt he's a Christian. Of course, Christianity says you don't murder innocent people, but that doesn't necessarily entail a pacifism. There are such things as just wars. But that aside, let's think about another conflict where you had one state unjustly invading another without any legitimate warrant in a cynical power grab to just try to topple the government and or grab territory from the other state, and has deliberately targeted civilians for years. Deliberately. This is not trying to extricate a guerrilla force that's hiding among civilians so you get unfortunate but unavoidable civilian collateral damage. No, this is the deliberate targeting of civilians and civilian targets. And of course, I'm talking about Russia. So where is Tucker Carlson's moral universalism when it comes to the Ukraine war? It's nowhere to be found. Is he talking every day about how horrible Russia's invasion of Ukraine is and how it needs to stop? No, he's tilted Russia's way, which just goes to how his moral beliefs are applied selectively to one country, which happens to be the Jewish state. Then there's another source of his disingenuousness, I believe, which is that even though he says a lot of crazy and controversial things all the time, he is not fully letting us in on what he truly believes. Now, he showed a little ankle in this regard in the New York Times interview. Check out this clip.
I mean, clearly you had some feelings of reservation about the president
Without question.
before this time.
There's no doubt.
So I'm just trying to understand the.
I have a lot of thoughts and theories about things which, may or may not be rooted in reality. So I hesitate even to spring any of my theories on you because, they're probably insane. But one thing that has bothered me for many years is the fact that a lot of people in Trump's immediate orbit have been hurt and really hurt, gone to prison, become unemployable, publicly shamed, gotten cancer. And I just am a believer in big picture assessments of things. And, so you're trying to think is Trump good or bad? He's saying things I really agree with, but then people around him are getting hurt. Is the country actually getting better? I don't know. It's hard to know because to some extent your vision is obscured by the intensity of some of these debates. Mine is easily obscured by that intensity.
Now, here's Carlson telling us he's not going to tell us all his other theories because they're probably insane. I would say certainly insane, but he tells us, he hints a little bit to the kind of insane things he believes with the suggestion that something untoward is going on with all these people around Trump dying or having legal troubles or medical difficulties. And it's not clear exactly what Carlson is getting at here, whether he's suggesting that shadowy forces are intimidating Trump by hurting people around him. This might be some foreign force or Jews or whatever it is, or whether he's saying that Trump himself is harming everyone around him for some reason, but is clearly bizarre. And here's more.
And instead, there were a lot of cowardly people, as there always are, and Trump engenders cowardice in the people around him through intimidation. And there is a kind of quality that he has that's spellbinding, and I think it probably literally is a spell. And the effect is to weaken people around him and make them more compliant and more confused. And I've experienced this myself. You spend a day with Trump and sort of like you're in this kind of dreamland. It's like smoking hash or something. It's interesting, very interesting. And there may be a supernatural component to it. I'm not a theologian, but it's real. And anyone who's been around him can tell you it's real.
So there you have it. Carlson doesn't think that Trump has such a grip on people because he's charismatic, because he's forceful, because he's persuasive, because he'll destroy your career if you cross him. No, he thinks there's literally something supernatural going on, a literal spell like abracadabra stuff, like something out of Hogwarts, right? This is lunacy. And there's more where that came from. So I think that's the ultimate disingenuousness, is that he doesn't want to fully tell us what he believes. And if he did, it'd be absolutely bonkers. And we can be assured that he denies saying it a day or two later. I'm Rich Lowry, over and out.